Good morning. It is Sunday morning, and that means it's time for the House Whisperer Show on WWDB Talk 860. I'm Barry Reisman, inviting you to stay tuned. Well, this is kind of a special show. Ordinarily, we have advice about maintaining your house with the guy who tells us that every house has a story. But today, Jack Milne is going to be hanging up the microphone. But let's say good morning to Jack. And how you doing today?
Well, good morning, Barry. I'm great, and it's a happy day. It's a sad day, but really after a lot of thought and trepidation, today is going to be the last day of the House Whisper Show on WWDB. And after creating 180 shows on not only WWDB but an older station, WFYL. Yeah, it's getting time to move on. And, running the shows at the dining room table, thinking of all those things that affects buyers and sellers and homeowners has not only been a challenge but also a blessing, as I can share my knowledge with so many people over the air. So today, I'm asking Barry Reisman, the station manager and the man at the controls, to actually spend some time with me and conduct one final interview.
Okay.
Before we start, I'd like to thank my sponsors because over the past few years they were able to let me speak to all of you over the airwaves. So I'm going to always start with Bucksmont Inspections, Rob Bowie. Again, even though I may be off the air, these guys will always be in business. They do anything that involves on-site sewage evaluations, testing, design, and repair. And you can find them at 215-669-4213. Their website is bucksmontinspections.com. Borough Exterminating, termite as well as radon testing. They're out of Glen Olden, Pennsylvania, Delaware County. Their website is boroughexterminating.com, and their phone number is 610-586-5640. Pest Blaster with Michael Canner out of Hamilton, New Jersey. They do have a 215 number, which is 215-295-5555, but they serve as much in New Jersey as they do in Pennsylvania. But they also do radon testing, mold testing. We're destroying insect evaluations as well as pest removal. BrainFleshGear.com, Kevin Zollner. I had him on the air a couple years ago and talking about some of the eclectic things that he's done in the past. So always want to reach out to him and say thank you. And his email is contact@BrainFleshGear.com. And, of course, my company, Tri-County Inspection Company, been in business 30 years. We've conducted 75,000 property valuations for buyers, sellers, listing agents, selling agents, investors, anything where there's a transaction involved, so do we. And in the Bucks-Montgomery County areas, we're at 215-295-2030. In the Delaware County, 610-296-2004. Way up there in the Lehigh Valley, 610-346-7880. In South Jersey, 856-853-4224. So, as I always like to say, please let them know that you heard their ad on the House Whisperer Show. And all shows will be located at thehousewhispershow.com, but I'm going to put a link to it to Tri-County Inspection Company. So if you want to listen to a previous show, there will always be archived for your benefit. As to email, folks, I'm still listening at thehousewhispershow@gmail.com. But do me a favor and now leave me a phone number, and I will reach back to you. So, Barry, let's get this interview started.
Well, first of all, I think it would be good to let people know who listen to this program behind the scenes how much time. It's a half hour on the air, but how much time do you put in off the air getting ready for a show?
Barry, I would say each show takes me about an hour to about an hour and 15 minutes.
People don't realize that. When they listen to the radio, they think it's just, open up the microphone and start talking. But to do a show as well as you do and as prepared as you do, it takes, you're right, twice as much time off the air as it does on the air. And that's the way it works. That's part of doing a good radio show.
And and I think what I like about it, Barry, is, what I do is real life. Where people can get a real benefit just about gutters and why to use leaf for leaf gutter guards over, say, one of these covered gutter franchise companies, because I live it, I see it, and and I know what works and what doesn't work.
Now, but every time we introduce your program, and we've been doing this for a couple of years now, part of the introduction that I say is that every house has a story. Maybe you can give us a little more background about that line.
Sure, Barry. Yeah, the tagline means a lot to me because as a home inspector, I get to inspect a 200-year-old home, and I get to inspect new construction and everything in between. And when people come up to me and say, I bought this house, it's a 50-year-old two-story colonial. This is my first home. I have no idea how a house works. Well, what I do is it's like a puzzle. I take the house apart and I put it back together again. And it's not really where, the house is talking to me, but with a 50-year-old home, you've had the opportunity of having maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 different families, in that 50-year time frame. And now here's a brand new family who's buying a house but wants to make it a home. So what I do is I tell them the story of the house and, what is original, what has been updated, what I can advise to this new home buyer to make the house even work a little bit better. So I'm really kind of laying this whole house out on a platter and telling them how the house works. And at the same time, what I like about what I do is that every suggestion that I give will make the house work better and lower their energy costs. So I think the hardest thing to do is to turn a home back into a house. And I feel, for the seller, because they've had so many memories in this home. And now it comes to a point where they have to take their family pictures off the wall. They have to sanitize the house. And now, here's this new homeowner coming in saying, well, I do want to put my family portrait over here and one of my favorite pieces of art over there, and I want to put my TV over here. And you can just see this change occurring. So there's happiness, there's sadness, there's anticipation. Jack, I want to do this. Can I do that? How do I put a bathroom in the basement? Can I do that? So that's why I like that tagline, because I'm helping them build on a dream.
That's a great tagline. Great, and I'm sure that there's plenty of stories. But by the way, Jack, this is our last show. But what made you do the first show? What got you into radio? I mean, you're a home inspector, and you're a darn good one, if I say so, because I've seen you at work. But what got you into radio?
Well, I went to the University of Richmond. They had a student station, WDCE. And I've always had this interest in music, and I love it. And the school gave me an opportunity to get on the air. But back then, Barry, I had to have something called a third-class license in order to broadcast. First-class license back then said you can almost run a radio station, but third classes allowed you to be on the air. So my college roommate and I actually had this show called The Wazo, which was a nickname for me. And Doug Lockwood, his nickname was Wood. So we had the Wazo and Wood show. And so twice a week, I was able to play 2 hours of music, and then be on the air and have a blast. And so almost 35 years passed, and then WFYL, there was a realtor out that way who was looking, for sponsors. So I signed up with him, but he was doing a 2-hour segment, Barry, and you're on the air, and 2 hours is a lot to fill.
Oh, yeah.
So he called me, and he goes, Jack, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, his name was George. I said, George, why don't we do something at the top of the hour, and we'll call it Inspector's Tips. So his show was on 9 to 11 on Sundays. So I said, I'm a motorcyclist. I can pull over at 10 o'clock anywhere. And if you have a couple questions, I'll answer them for your listeners. So, these little inspector's tips, Barry, they went from like 5 minutes to 20 minutes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys are sitting on their bikes, just kind of sitting back, BS, and saying, when's he going to stop walking in the field over there and come back and jump back on the bike? So George eventually left the station. The station manager asked if I wanted to come on, and so we worked out an arrangement. So I guess for a little bit over a year, a little more, that's when I started the House Whisperer. And that station changes hands, as stations do. And so I took a little bit of a break, and then you and I connected, Barry.
Yep, we did.
And it's been wonderful. So, it does give me a chance to spread the wealth of information. I think that's what this show was always about, and life experiences for me. And what I've come across, doing inspections for over 33 years. So
yeah, you've been doing it for a long, long time. Well, you're going to have some extra time now that you're not doing the radio show. So what are you going to do with all that extra time on your hands, or a little bit of extra time on your hands anyway?
Yeah, well, Barry, I think you know me too well. When I try to get some free time, there all of a sudden there's a vacuum and a void, and something comes right back in and seems to fill the spot. But back in 2000, I formed a group called the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. And we had a home inspection law that was running around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I got a chance to meet with the legislators who thought it was prudent to go ahead and license home inspectors. And so I kind of herded cats. That's about the only way I can describe it. I brought various national home inspection associations under one umbrella. And we actually helped craft the home inspection law that's been on the books now since 2001. I retired. Well, I kind of retired from being president back in 2006. I was president of that association for 6 years. I helped Philadelphia actually write their home inspection law for licensing. That was 9 months of endless meetings between realtors, the division of L&I, and in fact, Councilman, now Mayor-elect Kenny. So I've always been deeply involved with consumer protection and also protecting the home inspector. Well, there's another bill that's kind of sitting in licensure right now that would really, as I like to say, kind of dumb down the current home inspection law. And this is a craft where you have to be almost like a general practitioner. You have to know a lot about everything because your buyer is counting on you, as for several $100s to tell them everything about this house because they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's a true craft, and the current home inspection law allows for mentoring. You have to be insured. You have to be a full member, good standing of the National Inspection Association. But this new bill would eliminate the mentoring. It would give 120 credit hours of education, which is about 3 weeks of sit-down study, and then 40 hours of in-the-field training, which in what I see is about 16 to 17 home inspections. If you pass the course, you have up to 6 months to take the test, which means you have all these untrained individuals out there running around saying they're home inspectors that haven't been tested yet. So there's a real concern with the level of professionalism that I hold dear to my heart that could be real. So we were kind of blowing on the embers of the coalition, and I've been involved in getting back involved with that. But I don't want to be president. Barry, I want to be something called the GOW, and that's a grand old wizard.
There you go. Hey, and on that note, let's take a quick break and come back and talk more on today's swan song for the House Whisperer Show.
Oro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers show.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 30 years. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They have performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. Call 215-295-2030 or 856-853-4224.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
Okay, we are back with Jack Milne. You're listening to the House Whisperer Show, and as we mentioned earlier, this is the final show, but we want to remind you again that it doesn't have to be the final show, because you can go to the website and you can listen to a backlog of 2 years worth of programs. And I recommend you do it, even if you heard them before, listen to them again, the housewhisperershow.com. So, Jack, you're very much involved in homes, and you see real estate going in all different directions. Let's get a little house whisperer crystal ball. Where do you see real estate going in the next year or so?
Well, the good news about the Philadelphia market, Barry, is that Philadelphia draws New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, Delawareans, and of course, our own people here in the Commonwealth. It's a magnet city, and as you can see, it's very busy. I mean, we've had the Pope here. We get a lot of interesting scenarios. We're going to have the Democratic National Convention here. So I love this city because it's not New York. You know, New York, I get anxiety when I go to New York. But Philadelphia is a small, big city, and it's very intimate. And I am seeing a lot of people who are empty nesters moving back to the city because it is a walkable town. Look at New York. I mean, every vehicle is a taxi. How many taxis do you really see in Philadelphia? It's really not that many. So it's an intimate town. And I see a resurgence in Philadelphia for the retiree. I do not see it, unfortunately, for those who are having children. So you're getting the postgraduate kid. Well, I can't call them kids because I'm getting older, but the postgraduates who love the city. They went to Temple, Drexel, UPenn. There's the Art Institute of Philadelphia, and they're staying in town. And look at Northern Liberties and Roxborough and Manayunk. I mean, they're magnets for these kids because they don't want to leave. But they leave when they have children because what's happening, the Philadelphia school system is brutally bad. And I know Councilman Kinney, now Mayor-elect Kinney, is going to start to work on that, and they must, because if they're going to keep the worker, in quote, you know, the middle class in Philadelphia, they have to offer good schools. And so if Philadelphia can change their school system, they're going to keep people in town. As to the suburbs, I live in a town called Yardley. It's north of the city. We're a bedroom community because everyone likes to take the train out of Trenton and head to New York. It's only about an hour, maybe an hour 15 ride. And honestly, Barry, it takes me that long to get to Willow Grove today.
Oh yeah.
You know, so before you know it, you're in New York. And look at New Jersey. You got all the pharmaceuticals. The biggest drawback on New Jersey is their tax structure. Philadelphia also has to do something with their tax structure too, because it is affecting the small businessman. Because you have to have a business privilege tax, there's wage tax, there's all these taxes, and you may not even live in the city. So, if Philadelphia can lower their tax base for the small working crew, I mean, that would draw more small businesses back to the city. As to the Fed, I absolutely see interest rates coming up. There's no doubt about it. I don't think you're going to see it in December, but I think you will see it come spring because I think it was October had one of their best hiring rates since 2006. So the Fed has just been waiting to raise the interest rates, and it might just be a little bit. It might be 0.25%. It may be 0.5%. But I'm telling you now, folks, if you want to buy real estate, buy it now, because come spring, you're not going to see 4% money anymore. I think it's going to go to 5.5.
Let's talk about the House Whisperer show itself. And WWDB. Give us a little, since you are very good at scrutinizing everything. That's what you do. You go to a house and you climb from the roof down to the basement, and you really do scrutinize it. Why don't you give us a little evaluation of your program and your reactions to the WWDB, the station that's been your home for the past couple of years?
Well, Barry, I'll tell you, WWDB is a true professional organization. I've had the benefit of the small college experience. I've had the benefit of a small, more intimate radio station. But with DB, there were a couple things that I liked immediately. As you and I, when we first met, we actually met in my office. And I told him that I was, told Barry I definitely wanted to do the show, but I couldn't do it in Bala-Cynwyd. And once Barry got to my office, he understood why. I said, if you need me on Sunday mornings, I need a helicopter.
Yeah, that's right. You said there's no easier way to get here.
Yeah. And so, right away, Barry said, well, look, we can go ahead and we can tape the show. And as I speak to you now, I'm actually at my desk in my office, and it was just a great way to handle the passage of knowledge without having to go very far. And, having Barry, with all these years of experience working with me at his controls, keeping an eye on the clock, it just made my life so much simpler because I could still do my couple of inspections a day and get back and be prepared for the show. And I can tell you, every listener out there, Barry is never late.
No, never late for dinner, never late for Jack Milne. So let me ask you this, Jack, if you had to do it again, if you were going to be starting the House Whisperer show back at the beginning, would you make any changes, or would you keep it the way it is?
I kind of like how it is, Barry. I think it's I don't want to use the wrong word, but it's kind of intimate. I feel like I have my listener right across from my desk. And I can share this information, and I see it, with my clients every day, that when we wrap up the inspection, their eyes are like wide open. It's like, wow, I've learned all these things today. But it's if I could improve it, I'd love to do an hour, but I think it'd be 2 hours of sit down time per show.
I'd love it too.
And but it's been a great experience, and that's why I always I like the podcasting, because as a realtor was sitting at the table as I'm conducting the inspection, they said, wow, you're on the air? I said, it's best, while you're sitting there, why don't you go to www.dbam.com and you can use your smartphone and you can listen to the show while I'm down in the basement, with the clients. I'm going to relocate the housewhispershow.com to Tri-County's website, which is tcinspect.com. Well, Barry, I want to thank you and WWDB for the opportunity. I want to thank all my listeners for hanging out with me at 11 o'clock on Sunday. And as I always like to say, as it is Sunday, please spend time with friends and family, and you are my listeners.